Nora!
There aren't any deceased donors that match.
Then we'll have to use a live donor.
Hi, Dad. Sorry I'm late.
Hang on.
Let me go!
I want my daughter found.
Batman and Mr. Freeze, SubZero, released in 1998, remains one of the most notable animated films tied to the legacy of Batman, the animated series, continuing its dark, emotional storytelling and sophisticated art style that appealed to both children and adults. It followed the massive success of Batman, Mask of the Phantasm, and was originally planned as a direct-to-video sequel to capitalize on that film's critical acclaim. However, unlike its predecessor, SubZero didn't receive a theatrical run and instead found its home audience through VHS and DVD, quickly earning a reputation as one of the most underrated entries in Batman's animated film lineup. The movie was directed by Boyd Kirkland, a longtime contributor to the animated Batman universe, and his vision gave the film a heartfelt, cinematic atmosphere that blended tragedy, action, and moral conflict. The animation style was notably advanced for its time, taking advantage of digital techniques and smoother motion to elevate the visuals beyond the television series, creating a crisp, fluid presentation that looks stunning for a home release. The story revolves around the tragic figure of Mr. Freeze, voiced by Michael Ansara, whose character arc had been one of the most emotional and sympathetic in Batman's animated mythos. The film expands on his quest to save his terminally ill wife, Nora, who remains cryogenically frozen. When her containment chamber is damaged by accident, Freeze is forced to take desperate measures to keep her alive. His search for a cure leads him to discover that a compatible organ donor could save her life, and unfortunately, that donor turns out to be Barbara Gordon, also known as Batgirl. This premise sets off a deeply personal and emotional chain of events as Barbara is kidnapped, prompting Batman and Robin to launch a rescue mission that tests both their detective skills and emotional resilience. The film captures the essence of the classic animated series' darkly atmospheric Gotham City settings, morally complex villains, and a Batman torn between justice and compassion. It's not just a tale of good versus evil, but a story of tragedy, love, and redemption set against the backdrop of a frozen Gotham. Kevin Conroy returns as the voice of Batman, continuing his iconic portrayal that has defined the character for generations. Loren Lester reprises his role as Robin, bringing youthful determination and emotional depth to the character, while Mary Kay Bergman voices Barbara Gordon with sincerity and strength. Michael Ansara once again steals the show as Mr. Freeze, giving one of the most nuanced vocal performances in the entire animated Batman franchise. His delivery makes Freeze both a menacing and heartbreaking figure, a man driven to villainy by love and loss. The chemistry between these voice actors adds layers of realism to the animated world, grounding its larger-than-life characters in human emotion. The interactions between Batman and Robin, in particular, showcase their evolving mentor-student dynamic, with Robin often impulsively while Batman remains stoic and strategic, a dynamic that underlines the emotional core of the film. These relationships provide a counterbalance to the central tragedy of Freeze's story, showing the power of family and teamwork in the face of despair. One of the standout features of Batman and Mr. Freeze, SubZero, is its production design and visual tone. The film combines traditional hand-drawn animation with early digital effects to create breathtaking underwater and ice-covered sequences. The Arctic base scenes, where Freeze hides with his wife and polar bear companions, display impressive attention to environmental detail and atmosphere, while the Gotham cityscapes retain the noir-inspired architecture and lighting style fans loved from the series. The use of color and shadow is particularly striking. The cool blues of the ice scenes contrast beautifully with the warm, urban tones of Gotham, reflecting the emotional duality between Freeze's world and Batman's. The animation was a significant technical leap forward from the earlier television episodes, and the result is a feature that still holds up visually even decades later. The film's tone also benefits from a strong musical score by Michael Ansara, which captures the haunting melancholy of Freeze's struggle and the heroism of Batman's mission with an orchestral depth that makes the story feel cinematic. Originally slated for release in 1997 to coincide with the theatrical film Batman and Robin, SubZero's launch was delayed due to the overwhelmingly negative reception of that live-action film. Warner Bros. Chose to postpone the animated feature to avoid confusion and distance it from the critical failure of Batman and Robin, which also featured Mr. Freeze as the villain. Ironically, the animated version of Freeze received far more praise, and many fans saw SubZero as a redemption for the character. When the film finally released in 1998, critics and audiences appreciated its mature storytelling and emotional sincerity, particularly in contrast to the campy live-action portrayal from the year before. The movie was applauded for bringing back the depth and dignity of Mr. Freeze, transforming him from a gimmicky villain into a symbol of tragic devotion. While it was designed as a direct-to-video release, its quality matched that of a full theatrical production, showcasing how seriously the creative team took the material. The film's release on VHS and DVD quickly made it a staple in collections of Batman fans and animation enthusiasts. Thematically, Batman and Mr. Freeze, SubZero explores morality, sacrifice, and the blurred line between heroism and obsession. Mr. Freeze's motives are not rooted in greed or domination, but in love. His desperate need to save his wife makes him one of Batman's most human adversaries. The film asks the question of how far one should go for love and at what cost. Batman's approach to Freeze is filled with empathy rather than hatred, emphasizing his belief in redemption and justice rather than revenge. The inclusion of Barbara Gordon as the victim adds another emotional layer, as she embodies the innocent caught in the crossfire between a hero and a villain who both believe they are doing the right thing. The story avoids simplistic good versus evil tropes, instead crafting a morally complex narrative that challenges the audience to feel compassion for both sides. It also highlights the deep sense of responsibility that defines Batman's character, his refusal to let emotion cloud his judgment, yet his inability to ignore the pain of others. The action sequences in the film are tightly choreographed and visually stunning, with animation that flows smoothly from one set piece to the next. The underwater rescue scene and the helicopter chase are among the most memorable moments, showcasing the technical skill of the animators and the intensity of the film's pacing. Each fight scene carries emotional weight, as Batman's battles are never just about physical victory, but about moral choices and protecting innocent lives. The film's pacing balances these high-energy moments with quiet, reflective scenes that deepen character motivations. One of the most moving moments comes when Freeze, realizing the futility of his quest, lets go of his anger and accepts his fate, displaying a rare sense of peace and closure that elevates the story beyond a standard superhero narrative. His sacrifice at the end underscores the film's recurring message that love, no matter how powerful, can lead to both salvation and destruction. Critically, Batman and Mr. Freeze, SubZero received widespread praise upon release, particularly for its mature themes, emotional storytelling, and stunning animation. Many reviewers noted that it delivered a far more compelling take on Mr. Freeze than the live-action Batman and Robin, restoring the dignity and tragedy that defined the character in Batman, the animated series. Fans appreciated the return of the series' dark aesthetic and intelligent writing, which treated its audience with respect rather than pandering to younger viewers. The film also received recognition for its production quality, which rivaled theatrical animation of the late 1990s, despite being a home video release. Over time, it has maintained a loyal following among Batman fans and animation enthusiasts, often being considered one of the best animated superhero films of its era. It bridges the gap between the original animated series and the later, more stylized The New Batman Adventures, preserving the tone and visual sensibilities that made the original series so beloved. Behind the scenes, Boyd Kirkland's direction and the dedication of the Warner Bros. Animation team were central to the film's success. Kirkland, who had directed several acclaimed episodes of the animated series, infused SubZero with emotional authenticity and cinematic flair. Tragically, Kirkland passed away in 2011, but his work on this film remains one of his most enduring achievements. His ability to balance action with emotional storytelling helped elevate Batman animation to a new level, influencing future projects and setting a standard for animated superhero films. The voice cast, animation team, and composers worked together seamlessly to create a project that felt unified in vision and tone. Even though it was originally intended as a smaller project, the result was a feature that expanded the scope of what animated superhero storytelling could achieve, proving that animation could handle mature, complex narratives just as effectively as live-action films. In retrospect, Batman and Mr. Freeze, SubZero stands as both a culmination and a bridge in the evolution of animated Batman films. It encapsulates the heart of what made Batman, the animated series, so iconic: the noir style, moral depth, and emotional resonance, while pushing the boundaries of what could be achieved in animation. The film continues to be celebrated not just for its craftsmanship, but for its humanity. Mr. Freeze's final act of sacrifice, Batman's quiet empathy, and Barbara's courage all come together to deliver a story that remains moving decades later. Though its release may have been overshadowed at the time by the reputation of the live-action films, it has since earned recognition as a timeless classic in the Batman animated canon. Its artistry and sincerity continue to inspire fans and creators alike, proving that even in the darkest cold, the spark of compassion and redemption can endure.